So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome once again to TTESS Tech and Me. This is series one of our Tech Tuesdays for the spring, and this is the last day of our TTESS Tech and Me. So today we are on domain 3. Once again, I'm Lakeisha Pounds. I'm your district ed tech coordinator. You can call me, text me, beat me if you want to reach me. I'm just kidding. I don't have a pager. But you can always contact me if you have any questions about technology or about integrating technology into your classroom. All right, so once again, we're focused on domain 3 today. That is going to be a tech enhanced learning environment. So this one's all about the culture of your classroom and your learning environment. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to start with Dimension 3.1. So Dimension 3.1 of Domain 3 focuses on classroom environment, routines, and procedures. So the focus is what helps you to maintain your classroom, right? So what are those procedures? What are those routines, transitions, management of supplies and equipment, safety and organization? So one of the main ways that technology can come into play here is that it can actually become a hindrance if you don't have a procedure set up for it. It also becomes very obvious when someone is walking through your classroom when you don't have certain procedures set up. So something as simple as how do the students get their laptops? How do they put away their laptops? All of that can become more of a hindrance rather than a help if you don't have a procedure set up for it. So here are some definite do's for technology for your classroom, okay? So one, do assign a student tech helper. You may want to call it a helper. You may want to call it an assistant. You may even want to call them, this is our class technician. I don't know, whatever you want to do to make it fancy, you can do that. But those student tech helpers are lifesavers, right? So these are the people who can help other students get onto the actual computer, right? They're usually the ones who have logged onto their computers already. They never have an issue with their logins. They never really have an issue with their Clever badge. They're always like in the program and waiting for the next instructions, right? So those are the kind of people that you want to allow to be tech helpers or assistants, right? Because then they, instead of you running around like a chicken with your head cut off throughout your classroom, trying to make sure that 30 plus students are logged into their machines, they can also help with that, right? And it doesn't have to just be one. Maybe you can have two, maybe you have one per table. It's like if you have your students set up into groups, then you have like, you're the tech helper for today. You make sure that everyone gets onto their laptop. You make sure that everyone grabs the proper laptops. Choose the one that's assigned to them. So that is a definite do for this, okay? Also another do technology-wise, do have a procedure for logging into devices. And that means basically having some sort of backup plan. Even though the students have been in school a while now, right? They've been in school a while now. They will still come to you and say, I can't log in, I can't this, I can't that, right? So having some sort of procedure for that is extremely helpful, especially when someone's coming in and observing your lesson. And this will make you hopefully not want to avoid using technology during your observations, you know, just because you're like, oh, I'm not sure if all the students can get in. I'm not sure if the platforms will work. If you test it out ahead of time and you have these procedures in place, it will make it less intimidating to incorporate technology into your lesson. So some of the procedures for logging into devices is have some sort of procedure for Clever badges. I have seen this go really well, and then I have seen this go really poorly. So for the classrooms that I went into that I have gone into where the Clever badges worked really well, there's been a teacher who literally has the kids have their notebooks. They always have their notebooks at the table with them or their journals with them. And the Clever badge is on the inside cover part of the journal. So literally the kids know if I get logged out or if it's time to log in, if I need my Clever badge, it is always in the same spot. They literally pick up their journal, show it to the camera, close it, and move on. That has been one of the best procedures I've seen. I've seen some teachers who keep their clever badges on a binder ring. I would suggest choosing a method that doesn't make the students all walk up to you. That is crucial. Like, give them some ownership of their badges. So if you are afraid they're going to lose their badges, it is harder to lose a huge journal. So that is something you may do. Also, I've seen people place it on their lunch card. So on the student's lunch card, it's on the back part of it. So they use their little lanyard. They have a whole lanyard set up. That lanyard has their lunch card, and on the other side, it has their cover badge. It has both of the things so that the students don't lose it. And they know that once they scan their clever badge, they go and they hang up their lanyard. That's a great procedure as well. I've also seen some teachers place some sort of reminder of their username and password. This is for our older kiddos. Some sort of reminder of their username and password. Not their actual username and password, because we don't want to share that out, but remind them of what goes into your username and password. And they place like a little note or something on the next to the trackpad on the Chromebooks. The last do in this area is do teach the students common troubleshooting skills. The best technology ran classrooms that I have been to, they have taught their students how to do simple things like what to do if you get logged out. They have a procedure for it already. You grab your cover badge, you hold it up, we log right back in. We don't say, teacher, I got logged. We don't do any of that. Grab the clever badge, hold it up, let's move on. We open and we close and then reopen our laptop to make sure that the screen comes back on and that it's on the correct screen. So they have taught these simple troubleshooting skills so that they do not have to be, or their tech helper does not have to be the person running around the classroom, and they've made those students take responsibility in those areas. Another good skill to teach the kids is how to close too many tabs. Our poor pre-K and like kinder babies on the tablets, they have a million tabs open like they're full-grown adults, right? But they don't even know it. They've just reopened the same application multiple times, right? So help them by teaching them like, this is too many. Do you see that there's another tab with the same name open? Let's go back to our original tab. So that way you can teach them how to also go back to the tab. So a lot of times when something closes out in front of them, they think it's gone, just altogether gone, and they don't know how to go back to their tabs. So that would be something to teach them as well. And I say that for the little ones, but we have middle schoolers who do the same thing. They're like, I don't know where it went. I'm like, you have 5 tabs of the same thing open. It's right there and right there and right there and right there. So just helping them and teaching them those skills. So all of that will help with being more than proficient in this area, at least concerning technology. Okay, so we'll move on to dimension 3.2, managing student behavior. So this is basically classroom management, right? And having some sort of system in place to manage the behaviors that are happening in your classroom. So there are several different tools you can use for this, several different technology tools you can use. One of them is Lightspeed Classroom. I have linked for you the actual training here. You can also train with me. All you have to do is submit a ticket on Incident IQ, or just send me a message and I can walk you through where you're supposed to submit the ticket at. But I can also walk you through how to set up your Lightspeed Classroom so that you are able to view your students' screens, and then also you're able to close their screens. You're able to pause their screens if you want to do it like a 1, 2, 3 eyes on me. Lightspeed Classroom does all of that. You can also limit the amount of websites that the students can travel to or navigate to by setting up approved lists and not approved lists. So there's just several different things you can do with Lightspeed Classroom, and it really, really helps with managing at least the technology piece of the classroom. Okay, and I have linked the training here for you, and I'll show you briefly what that looks like. So when you click on it, it's going to go to a home screen, and then it will lead you, you'll click start, and it will take you to this screen. And so from this screen, you're able to navigate to all the different pieces of it, including just what is Lightspeed Classroom. You can start there and you can work your way through this entire training. And it includes the videos, resources and helps, and then the different components of Lightspeed Classroom. But once again, I am still available to help walk you through that training as well. All right. So another thing I'll go ahead and jump across is that you can use for classroom management is a online voice meter. So some people have amazing like callbacks. They do the waterfall. They have the class. They do things like that, right? So an online voice meter would be less of a call to attention and more of an opportunity for the students to monitor their own behavior and their own volume. So that's what it's meant to do. So I'll show you an example of one of them. This one's called bouncyballs.org. It is my favorite one because of how it operates, just honestly. So once you go to bouncyballs.org, you click start bouncing. And then as you are making noise, it's probably not going to do it while I'm on here, but as you're making noise, let me turn on my microphone. That might be helpful. There we go. As you're making noise, it will start bouncing around. And then the louder you make noise, or if you're too loud, shh, there you go. Sorry if that was loud in your ears, but if you're too loud, it will actually do a shh sound. So, and it will tell them it's too noisy. So what I like to do with this one is to actually put it up on the screen so the students can see it, right? That's the whole purpose. Because a lot of times that little shh isn't enough of an indicator to them for them to like monitor their own loudness. Now, I will tell you when you initially use this, the kids will laugh because they just think it's cute, right? Especially this one. There's emojis. They have numbers if you want to do numbers. They have bubbles. They have eyeballs if you just want to have staring eyeballs at them. And then they just have regular plastic balls. So initially the kids find it like exciting to like make it go off. So you would introduce this by actually introducing it, right? So introduce the platform, let them know like here are the levels, and let them test out like what level is too high. And so that gives them a chance to play around with it and not just try to set it off on purpose. Another online voice level meter would be classroom screen. So I'll just go to that one real quick. So on classroom screen, this is how their sound level shows up. And then I'm going to actually, let me sign in real quick. There we go. All right, so on classroom screen, once you get signed in, it's a free account. So it's free to sign in, to use, to save your screen, save backgrounds, and create colored things that cost money, but the basics don't. So I'm just going to go on my screen right here. I already have a timer that's implemented and that's already in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate down here and I'm going to click on sound level. Once I do that, and you have to make sure you click allow on your mic, you'll see that it is measuring my voice level, right? And then you can also mute it for when you don't want it to track that voice level. And you can also mute the little bell that goes off. Okay, so that's another voice, and it's telling me, I guess, like you're too loud. It's telling me to be quiet. Sorry. Okay, so that's another way that you can track the sound and for the students to also have ownership of that. All right, so now we're going to jump over here to where it says online positive reward system. So this is basically any sort of reward system that in the old school days, we would give out physical like tickets, and sometimes people still do that, right? As if you're at a carnival. But instead of doing that, you can use platforms like Class Dojo, sorry. You can use platforms like Class Dojo, you can use Bookit, and instead use those as incentives, right? So Class Dojo definitely tracks points. You can add points. They can build up their little characters and things like that. And so that's actually pretty exciting for the kids. Book It has something similar to that, not to the extent of Class Dojo, but it can still be used as an incentive. So that way the students have some sort of positive behavior reinforcement. So let's say like everyone did amazing on their quizzes. We've had great behavior all week. We're going to go ahead and close out this lesson with Book It. Or everyone is going to get 10 points on Class Dojo. I don't know if you really want to give full 10 points because that's a lot of points, but everyone's going to get 2 points on Class Dojo, 5. I don't know. So those are some ways to also reinforce classroom management, but in a positive way. So I'm going to jump over here to where it says digital timers. Digital timers are, I think, almost a must. I must say, it's some sort of timer. Timers, period. Timing your transitions, timing your activities is a must. And so digital timers just helps you and helps the students to see it, right? So that way it's not you yourself as the teacher saying, guys, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. All right, you have 1 minute left. Those vocal cues are helpful, but it is also extremely helpful for, once again, for the students to be able to see their timing and for them to be aware of how much time it's taking them. So if you are like me, for instance, I don't have a full, I have no concept of time, right? I could think something took a really long time and I look up and it's only been 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, well, that was actually really short, right? Which is helpful sometimes because you want it to feel like, oh, I just did so much work or something, right? And it didn't take that long for you to do it. You're like, I accomplished a lot in 10 minutes, right? But in the middle of an observation, if you tell the students you have 5 minutes and you have no concept of time, the students have no concept of time, and 10 minutes have passed, that is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And the observer will notice, like, well, she said 5 minutes 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. So this is why digital timers are important. So going back to classroom screen again, they do have, of course, a timer. Also, within Canva, there is a digital timer, and I have instructions linked here in case you don't know how to utilize the timer setting within a Canva presentation. But it's super simple. So let's say I was giving you instructions right now and I say, you know what, I want you to take 1 minute to reflect over this slide and tell me what are the main details or what takeaways do you have from this slide. So I would literally, while I'm in presentation mode in Canva right now, I would just hit the number 1 and you see it popped up on my screen. So I hit the number 1, I press play, and then it counts down on my screen. And then it will also alert me when that minute is over. So if I was using this realistically, right, for like a PD or something like that, then this is definitely something that I could use, right? I would pull up the timer. It's real simple. I just literally typed in the number 1. So I can do that all the way to up to 9 minutes, right? And then after that, you just physically type in your timer. You could just press plus 1 minute. So I can add time up here if we need more time, right? And then you can press the same number 1 to get rid of the timer. So there are several built-in timers, not only into presentations. There's also a built-in timer in your interactive TVs, right? So that's in the actual, if you have a ViewSonic TV, ViewSonic has the whiteboard application. There's timers in there. There's a timer in there. And then the actual TV, no matter what TV you have, it's just like it's like a gigantic smartphone, right? It has a timer in there. So if you've never actually just went to your apps on your TV, one of those apps is going to be a timer. There's going to be a stopwatch, a timer, something that's in there. And then several teachers, they also have the big red ones, the big red digital ones. That still counts as digital. It's still a piece of technology, technically. It's low tech, very low tech. But that works too because the students can still see it and they can still hear it. Okay. Moving on, digital seating charts is another must for classroom management. I can't tell you how many times with my students I've tried to make sure that, like, I'm trying to let you kind of sit where you want to sit, and they blew it every time. Nearly every time they blew it, right? So it was always crucial to, at some point in time, make sure that I had some sort of seating chart. So I tried by hand. I even had it to where one teacher recommended that you get a sheet protector with the kids' names and sticky notes, and then you just kind of move it around there, right? It just becomes tedious doing these things on paper. So I have provided for you Canva templates for seating charts. So they have several different seating charts. I'll go ahead and click on this one. And they're all digital and they're all are set up differently. And the good thing about Canva is that you can, of course, go in, drag and drop, move things. You can have different desks. You can have real desks. You can have just shapes. They just have a lot. They also have just lists. So several times I would just put my students into tables. So my tables were numbered, or my desks were put into groups, and then those groups were tables, and I numbered them. And so I would literally do exactly how it's on this fancy, seating chart. I would just list their names, like you, and you're going to table one, you, and you're going to table two. And so the kids would know where those tables were constantly, and that's where they would go. So, like I said, I have listed for you digital ones so that you do not have to physically go and create ones by hand. So, digital is definitely the way to go for a seating chart. I've also used a low tech version of this, which would be just using Google Sheets, right? You put all the kids' names into a Google Sheet and you move them to their little boxes based upon where you want them to sit in the classroom. And it's easy because you literally just drag the name over. So there's just different things you can do for a digital seating chart. Last on this list of classroom management tech tools is a randomized student selector app. So for this, there is the Wheel of Names that some people use, and then also Class Dojo has a random selector, student name selector app as well. So I'll go ahead and click on the Wheel of Names real quick and show y'all what that looks like. This is real simple because literally you could copy your list of kiddos, you could put them in here, and then you just click the spin and it will randomly pick a student. So this is the equivalent of like the popsicle sticks that people do, right? Except for it's digital, right? And they can see everyone's name, and then, oh, you're a winner, Dia. Now you're going to read the next paragraph. Okay, that's what you win. You get to read the next paragraph. Congratulations, right? I would suggest that if you use the Wheel of Names, make sure that you only put the student's first name. Do not put their full name. Okay, just keep that in mind, especially with apps like this. Just first name only. In Class Dojo, if you go down to the bottom, you click on Toolkit. Oh, by the way, it also has a timer. It also has a noise meter in Class Dojo. I don't like it as much as the other ones, but it also has that as well. But if you go right there, and then, if you go to random, it will randomize the students' names. So it's taking its time. There you go. So here are my fake students, and here's the one who won and who is able to read the next paragraph. So Leonardo, it's your turn to read. Okay. And then I click again and it will go to another student. So all of those things, all of those tools, tech tools, can keep your students on their toes. So moving on to the very last one, dimension 3.3, classroom culture. This one focuses on student engagement and students working together respectfully, right? So really the key word here is collaborative class and respectfully collaborative are really the key words in this dimension. So on this very last slide, I have listed for you things that you probably already do. So hopefully you are already using these tools. So you'll just realize like, hey, I can speak to this when I do my final evaluation, that these are some of the things that I did use to promote my kids collaborating in a positive manner. Okay, so you can use any of these tools: Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Classroom, Canva, even book creators. And there's different book creators, but I linked a specific one here that if you want to try that one out, you can try that one out. But all of these allow for real-time collaboration. And not only does it allow for real-time collaboration between the students who are maybe in a specific group, you can also have the students go back onto these platforms and then leave comments, right? Or edits or marks. And then you can give them guidelines as to how they should respond to somebody else's work. So it gives them the ability to not only work digitally, right, but to work together, to collaborate, and to also respond and give feedback at the same time in a positive manner. So all of these platforms allow this to happen. Now, do we have several more platforms that also allow this? Yes, but these are just the ones that I listed because then I might be listing forever, right? I think even GeoGebra has the ability to collaborate as well. So there's many different tools. I just narrowed it down to the ones that I know that y'all are probably using already, besides the book creator. The book creator was me throwing a little spin on y'all. Okay, but these are tools that people I've seen used in the classroom, and hopefully you are taking them and using them not only so students can do things just by themselves, but also to where they can collaborate and then give feedback to each other. So that is how you would accomplish tech with 3.3. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you once again for all of you who joined me for all 3 sessions, and we'll see you next Tech Tuesday.